Hello chess fans, in today's video we are going to be looking over my round 7 and 8 rounds, which were the last rounds, and I don't think I'm going to look at the tiebreak because I just lost that pretty quickly. I made a quick blunder, and then I'll talk about this tournament. So I'm going to start off with this game against around an 1100 opponent, and my second game was around a 1500. So this 1100 started off with e4, c5, and I decided to go for the Sicilian, and I wanted to go for the hyper accelerated dragon because it's very tricky for white to deal with if you're slightly low rated, and I just wanted to win quickly because I was kind of tired because we'd played so many rounds. So he played knight f3, I played knight c6. I was expecting d4 takes, and then I was going to go for the hyper accelerated dragon, or the accelerated dragon, sorry, but he played d3, which is a known mistake because it gives up the control of d4. So I played g6, bishop e3, d6, defending my pawn. c4 was played here, which I think is just a bad move because now this d4 square is really weak. Bishop g7, knight c3, and here I went e6, and I think this is actually an inaccuracy because knowing that black's play is all around this d4 square, what do you guys think would be the best move? Because white has two pieces guarding it, right now we have two, so how can we tip the balance in our favor? So the best move actually is to go bishop g4, pinning this, and then we can jump in here. So if they go bishop e2, we simply probably just take this and jump in here, or play e6 maybe first and then get the knights into d4, and black is much better. But instead I played e6 because I was just blitzing out all these moves. I wasn't very much thinking. Queen c2, I went knight g7 and b3. Really what you should be focused on is developing your king side, so like bishop e2 castles is what I was expecting. b3, I went queen a5. I was kind of looking for like a cheapo or something, because if he plays like rook c1, yeah, maybe rook c1's a fine move, but I thought on rook c1, actually no, I had knight b4, queen here, and then knight takes b2 would have been interesting. And if rook c1, knight b4, attacking the queen, queen b2 takes here, and if he takes here, I'd have the in-between move, bishop takes c3, and then winning the queen. And then if he goes anywhere else, then I would just take here, and well, I guess I couldn't take here now if he went to d2. But I hadn't seen that. I was just blitzing anyway. So he went bishop e2. And I just went back to c7 because right now he's threatening knight d5. And then to take here maybe. Maybe he's not even threatening anything. So, but I was going really quickly. So he went g3. I went a6 while I can, because now I can go for this move here. And now I can't go for this move because takes comes with the tempo on my queen. So I castle. He went a4 trying to stop that. I went rook b8 preparing it anyways. He went rook b1. Yeah, this move was getting out of the pin. That made some sense to me. I went knight b4 though. The problem with it actually is that it cuts off the queen's defense of this. So immediately I have knight b4 attacking this, and the queen has no defense of the pawn. And here white is just losing. But my opponent made it easy and blundered his queen. And I don't know if we really need to go further from this. After takes, it's just a fork. And I'll just quickly go through the moves because I guess I was a nice conversion. I spent less than a minute on this entire game, even before delay. So yeah, here I just blitzed. I didn't think at all, and yeah, I won pretty quickly. So that was my game against the 1100. So now we're in the final round, and I'm in a must-win situation because I had 7 points, or I had 6.5 points. And to guarantee myself a tiebreak for first, I had to win the game, and then I would do a tiebreak for first. If I draw the game, I would do a tiebreak for third. And if I lost the game, I would be, out of the running. And so I started off with e4, c5. And here, I knew my opponent didn't know much theory, so I played a very tricky line, knight c3. And here there's a lot of different things you can do against it. And against knight c6, what I was planning it to do is this bishop b5, this is trendy variation, and then bishop c4. And there's a big trick here where if they play d5 too early, you can take with the knight. But instead my opponent played d6, and now I played a modern line. It's actually a line very much popularized by Carlsen, which is d4. And it seemingly doesn't make a lot of sense because after c takes, queen takes, knight c3, don't you just have a transposition to the check over, like after bishop b5 or in the check over Sicilian? And while that might be possible, this queen d2 move is actually proving a lot of problems for black. And it's important not to have your queen here, your knight here, because then you can't play f4 or f3, which often happens. And so my opponent played knight f6, attacking, or just developing pretty much, and I played b3. Because I blocked my bishop, I have to develop it this way. And here he played a6, which is not a very good move because it just doesn't develop. What you should really do is, there's two things you can do here. You can go g6 or e7. I don't know if it's so wise to go g6 now after you've committed your knight so early, because sometimes maybe you want to go bishop g7 and knight g e2. Sometimes that's possible, but usually I guess you go knight f6. So instead you went a6 here, b5. I went f3, consolidating my center, maybe preparing to go here. Bishop b7, I castle queenside, e6. I went for g4. These moves are all perfect by the engine. Bishop e7. I went for king b1. And here, he went for queen c7. And so what I had expected is here, and then I just, get a really quick win, because it just looks way too dangerous for black there, because this bishop is also monstrous. But then he played queen c7, and I was like, oh my goodness, he's about to castle queenside. I messed up. And then I realized that, even though he's about to castle queenside, his development is slightly better. His central control is pretty much the same as mine. The problem is that my bishop on the king side, there's too much pressure on the king side. So I knew I was better here. So I played g5 and knight d7. And this position is like +1. And here I have no idea what I was thinking. What I was thinking, I thought about this position for a long time. And my candidate moves were f4, h4, bishop g2, knight e2, and I was thinking about everything. One problem is that if I go knight e2, there's often many positions where you can go b4, knight a4, and my knight is really offside because it doesn't really want to go to b2 because it'll block my bishop. I guess I could go knight d4, take here, though, as well. So I didn't really want to play knight e2. And I didn't want to play h4 for some reason. And I'm really not entirely sure why I didn't want to play h4. But after a long debate, I decided that I had to play bishop g2. And here my opponent castles, which is a mistake, which again allows me to play h4. And here I really should have played h4, because after here, this is actually just, I think, a mistake. Because what he should do here is after b4, knight a4, his position is really good here, because my knight is really offside, and he might even be able to go for knight c5, threatening to take here. And then I have to take, and that trade is really bad for me because the d file is now open for him, and it immediately hits my queen, and yeah, the bishop is just standing like a pawn here. But instead my opponent went here, which I knew was a mistake because I was like, that's way too passive. I thought even like this move, just not defending this pawn, would have been better. So he went here, and I went h4 now, which is a bad move because I shouldn't have allowed b4, but I obviously didn't see this b4 idea in the game. He went king b8, which is a natural move, and I went f4, which is an inaccuracy because, again, all these moves we should have prevented b4, but we both missed this. And f4 and knight b6. I went knight d4, takes. Yeah, knight d4 because now I finally saw b4 was giving me problems and I wanted to create this e2 square. So takes. f6 is just the best move, but a really bad looking move. Queen e3. I just wanted to bring the knight over here, and I also didn't want to allow queen c5 to force me to move back here. I wanted to move over here. So he played queen c5, I played queen e3, and here he went f5. And here I really messed up. I made an inaccuracy, and it's still completely winning for me, but it was a really bad practical choice. What I think I should do here is rook h e1 and just keep the pressure, because if he goes like here or whatever, I have all this pressure on the center, his pawns are all weak, his pawns on the king side are weak, and the engine actually says +3, and I would obviously never think this position is +3, but after here, takes, queen e3 is cool to attack the knight, and this is just an engine line, but I guess black's best opportunity is to do this and lose this pawn. And this would be black's best option, which I'm not even so clear. It's not so clear that I'm winning here still to me, but yeah, because this pawn looks kind of bad. But I guess, yeah, it's completely winning because we're trading a lot of pieces and we're up a pawn. But I took here, and he took back. I took on b7. He took here. Yeah, what I wanted him to do was to do this, and then I thought, okay, these pawns are too weak. This is an easy win. But instead after this, I calculated for a long time, and I thought, okay, he has a really bad pawn here. And what's the most natural option when your opponent has a really bad pawn? What's the most natural thing to do? I think it's a really natural mistake. You want to blockade the pawn. So I made the blunder move, which completely gives away all of my +2 advantage, knight d5. And yeah, I thought about this move for a really long time, and I just played it because I thought that I would blockade the pawn. If he goes here, king c6 or whatever, then maybe I can take this pawn, but he'd go g6 obviously, and then I thought, well, maybe I have something here with my blockading of the pawn. But after h5, I tried to create something. I was also thinking about rook d3 maybe coming on this file, but I really couldn't see how on earth I'm winning at all. After this, am I really winning? is black even, like, he doesn't have any weaknesses because he can just over defend this one and there's no other weaknesses, and you need at least 2 weaknesses to win. So instead, after g6, I played h5, which is also a decent move. He went king c6, and here I'm supposed to do this, which I didn't see during the game because obviously I thought he would take here, but then I guess you're just promoting and you're winning. You'd just be up a pawn here because after he'd sacrifice his rook and you'd be up a pawn. Instead, I went rook d2. This is good because I guess you're going to try to get in on the h-file and try to win this pawn because it's on a light square. It's going to be hard to defend. So let's just see what the engine line is. And yeah, I looked at the engine line a little bit now. And yeah, this is pretty convincing actually because now we're winning a pawn by force, aren't we? Well, no, he's not going to take. He's going to go like rook d8 or whatever and takes. And this, I think I could reasonably win against a player that I was against, a slightly lower rated player, around 500 points lower than me. But instead I went rook d2, he went rook d7, and here you can do the same thing, except, like, get on the e-file, except now he doesn't even have his rook here, and his pieces are just completely misplaced. But this didn't look convincing to me at all. Like this, I didn't really see how I was any better, and the engine actually says you're supposed to go rook e6, bishop c7, bishop a3, attacking it again, and he just sits around, and now we come on this file, and then maybe we probably double here. I guess that's the plan. But instead, I went with the blunder move, which really doesn't make any sense even practically. Here, I was really tired, and I just wanted to beat my opponent because they were much lower rated than me. I went h6, which is just a triple question mark move, I think, because it gets rid of all winning chances. And actually here, I think I prefer black because all my pawns are on dark squares now over here. And we have dark squared bishops, so his bishop has targets and mine has no targets. So here I trade, and here we just shuffled around for a long time. There was really nothing we could really do from here, and what I was trying to do is I was trying to flag him, to be honest, but I couldn't do it with the 5-second delay, and after a while, like around here, we agreed to a draw because it's just nothing you can do. So if you look over here, I had a big advantage throughout the game, and then at the end I just threw it away. But that was the end of this tournament, so I'll just tell you guys what happened after. So what happened after is the FM I beat drew to a 1600, who was drew to the same guy I lost to, and then I had to face him in the tiebreak, the FM, and then the London player and the fishy 1500 played off, and the fishy 1500 obviously won because you know what he was doing. And then so I was in this tiebreaker, and I played some preparation for the game I had, and I got it all on the board, and then he played a really bad move, and I forgot how to punish it, and I played a good move, and then I thought for 8 minutes after that, because he played another bad move, and there was only one move to win the game, and I missed it, and then I lost the game. And so I got 7 out of 9, and usually in like a 8-person tournament that would be enough to win, or 9-person tournament. But unfortunately, I just got 4th, and I wasn't able to win anything. And now about the fishy 1500 or whatever, I guess he actually hasn't been cheating because Leeches has still not banned him. So to the 1500, I guess congratulations for playing like a grandmaster against me and the other players too. He played several games under 10 Centipone. But that's the end of today's video, guys. If you liked the video, please remember to leave a like and subscribe, and ask me what my next video should be. I'm curious for any ideas.